Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Franchise Interviews. For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 6 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs who own one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with John Pelletier, the founder and CEO of Margaritas Mexican Restaurant. And Margaritas Mexican Restaurant has become an experience warmly embraced by people looking for a place to visit, as well as a place to enjoy delicious Mexican food. And we're going to talk to John about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we got a great show.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Are you looking for a franchise that delivers? Businesses will always need shipping, and for more than 25 years, loyal customers have depended on Unishippers for reliable savings and exceptional customer service. Unishippers is focused on just one thing: helping small and medium-sized businesses save time and money on all their shipping needs. And as the largest reseller of complete shipping services in the country, we have the buying power to ensure that we succeed. The Unishippers franchise offers low startup costs, no equipment or real estate required because they're not retail, residual income, and a quality of life and work-life balance. For more information on becoming a Unishippers franchisee, go to www.unishippers.com and click Franchise Opportunities, or call Franchise Development at 801-708-5822. That's 801-708-5822.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 6 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs who own one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews. And as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with John Pelletier, the founder and CEO of Margaritas Mexican Restaurant. Margaritas Mexican Restaurant has become an experience warmly embraced by people looking for a place to visit, as well as a place to enjoy delicious Mexican food. Hey, John, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Good. Hi, Marty. Thanks a lot for inviting me. How you doing
It's
today?
our pleasure, John. We always like to ask our guests where you're calling from this morning, John.
I'm calling from Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Oh, nice. It's a beautiful time of year to be in New Hampshire, isn't it?
It's probably been one of the best weeks of maybe the decade.
That's fantastic, yeah. My family used to visit New Hampshire, growing up, and it was called like a secret place, that a lot of people don't know about, but it really is. It's such a beautiful state. I thought we could start off, maybe you can describe the history of Margaritas Mexican Restaurant, John. There's always seems to be like an interesting story on how a lot of these, franchise opportunities start up.
Sure. It really started with my learning the Mexican concept down from a chain of steakhouses, believe it or not, I was working for in Connecticut back in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
And they had brought back a bunch of recipes from Colorado was probably at the time one of the best, Colorado, Texas, Arizona, California for Mexican. And even today there's, heavy Mexican in Colorado. But anyhow, I learned, a basic concept through the people down in Connecticut, helped them open a couple of Mexican restaurants,
right?
Which was, again, it was 1980. It was 30 years ago.
Okay.
So real basic stuff. So it started there, and then I realized I needed to get, I really needed to evolve Mexican food, like from Mexico, and then I started traveling to Mexico. That's where we developed our concept.
It's I was on the website maybe like a half hour before the show, John, and I have to admit it made me painfully hungry, looking at the food, the guacamole and the salsa and everything like that. It was just, and in this part of Pennsylvania, my wife and I frequently complain that we can never get real Mexican food, So how did you think of that Margaritas Mexican concept then? How did it all occur to you?
It started with a basis of some sauces and some basic recipes, and then we're really the crossover from Mexico, the historical Mexican food, to what's going on in Mexico today, flavors, experimentation. But the concept, after traveling to Mexico back in the 80s, I was like, man, I really wanted to bring Mexico back to people without having to get on an airplane.
Yeah.
And that was the basis of all the things we did, starting, all of the changes we made to our concept and evolvement of it. And it includes atmosphere, it includes the people, hospitality. It obviously includes, number one, the food. But, the concept developed around the food atmosphere of dropping your bags at the front door, your baggage, coming in and feeling like you're on vacation in Mexico.
Wow. And it sounds like that's what makes Margaritas Mexican Restaurant unique, John. Is there anything else that I guess, stands out from some of the other, I guess you could say, chains that are out there?
Yeah. Well, what stands out, although we have multi-units, we have a lot of different restaurants, and because of the evolvement over the years, they're all different markets, different buildings. They're all really local restaurants. They just are owned and operated under the same parameters of for continuity and consistency and all that stuff. But what sets us apart is that we do serve real, from other chains in general. Is we really do make homemade food. We're a large format restaurant. We're not, we're 200 to 300, sometimes 350 or 400 seats. So we make real food. In the chain industry, it's increasingly easy for chains to, use sodium-infused foods, microwaved foods, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we're not doing that, and consequently, the concept isn't the easiest concept to execute, but the product that you eat, it's really good.
It sounds delicious. Here's a trick question for you, John. What's your favorite when you go into the restaurants? Because I know you probably visit a lot of them, of course. What do you look for? Or what do you have typically when you go into one?
I think we make the best wet enchiladas in the business.
Really?
Yep, they are. I've eaten them at places that charge $20 for enchiladas, and I've eaten at places that charge $1 for enchiladas between New York, D.C., Mexico, Arizona, California, and I'm telling you, I think, the best wet enchiladas in the business.
That's fantastic.
We do other good stuff too, but when we do our enchiladas, they're not like anybody else.
When I saw you guys, I think it was on Fox. I think it might have even been you, John, that might have done the interview. It was you, okay. Just looking at the food, on that particular clip, it was just, you could almost smell and taste the food, as I was watching that.
Thanks.
Oh my God, it's. I said I can't wait till you guys are, in this particular area. I recently went to a franchise show with my wife, John. We went to the Jacob Javits Center, and she was surprised at all the different concepts there. But it seems like the typical question, when someone comes up to a booth is, so what do you guys do? How do you typically handle the question, when someone asks you?
What we do, let's say, what do you guys do? We operate. What do we do that makes us unique is that for the person that wants to own multi-units of restaurants that are real restaurants, that have real lounges, that have real energy, that aren't cookie cutter, because we're really a small, we have 24 units.
Right.
We don't have 240 units. So for an operator, owner, franchisee that wants something more unique, that fits their personality, that wants to feel really good, more than they're just operating a 5,000 square foot box. And some of these are multi-unit operators who have been exposed to other, in the one case in Pennsylvania with our franchisee, he's had other kinds of franchises, and he still does, and he appreciates having a formula that works.
Right. Okay,
a formula that works, but that feels like a real restaurant.
That's interesting.
Because we do. We have a whole education outreach program. We have all of our. We have, a big employee. And we have. We have a culture. A culture that, if they embrace it, is really fun to work in. If you're going to work, and it is a really fun concept to work in. I'm not saying it's not a lot of work.
Right.
People that are working there are having a good time, and we're treating them really well.
And I think that's important too, John. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Because we have emphasized that on the show. Over the last 6 years. Is the culture, of course, is very important. And I'm sure that's something that you bring to the table because of course, you're the founder of the company. What do you look for in the franchisees then? As far as like maybe characteristics or experience, I guess it had to be a big decision for you, to take on your first franchisee at some point, and make sure that it was a match. So what do you typically look for today, when you're choosing your franchisees?
The characteristics, there's got to be a passion for the business, passion to follow the rules and make money. There needs to be certain financial and responsibility kind of requirements, and they just have to fit because we're going to be going to be working with the person a long time. And we have a great franchisee in Pennsylvania. We really, he and his partner are professional. They're fun. They're smart. They appreciate people.
Right.
And, so far, and it's been a couple of years, we really like these guys. They like us. And they're making some money. And they're smiling. They're sending out a lot of smiling guests. Hundreds of thousands at this point,
It's a fun business to be part of, isn't it? Especially, when you have, when you have that culture and you're providing an experience, sometimes I compare it to I said it would be much better to have this type of franchise, than like a transmission franchise where you tell someone that they need a new transmission and, you charge them $2,000,
Right.
But the customers are never happy, This sounds like a fun franchise as you were talking about, of course, being a lot of work. Is there experience necessary? Do you look for that too, John? Do you want them to have that restaurant background?
Yeah,
okay.
Because, anything to do with having employees in today's world requires experience.
True.
No matter what kind of business it is, really.
That's true,
but
yeah.
It's just, our restaurants are not low maintenance restaurants. It's
right.
You can't just plug people in and out of the formula.
Sure.
People are what make it, which also makes it a challenge. But the Colby Group that is our franchisee in Pennsylvania, they understand that. So that experience matters a lot. Yeah.
That's great. What is the training like? I mean, once you decide, and it's a match, John, you say, we like them, they like you. How does it work? I mean, do they typically come out to New Hampshire after that, or for training?
Well, we have a training restaurant in Massachusetts, a high volume training restaurant, and they send their key people. It's on a low side of 8 weeks to a high side of 12 or 13 weeks. It's a big commitment. So they train in our facility under an organized training program, and then the training continues. We have support for them months before they open, and really every day after. So it's a big commitment.
That's great. How would you describe a typical day, if there is such a thing, John, for a Margaritas Mexican Restaurant franchisee, and like from the moment I guess they go in, and kind of like everything else in between till the end of the day?
Well, I think the life of the franchisee is pretty much the same as the life of any of our restaurants, because they operate, within certain parameters identically. The franchisee himself, he may. Craig doesn't go and operate that restaurant every day. He has management in there. Right. But for the management, they come in, they get the place opened up, they get their prep people in, they make their prep lists. Everything's prepped fresh, so every day is kind of a new beginning. There might be some things that are carried over from the previous day, but those are all, there's only certain items that are. Right. And they set up their lines because everything is made to order. And they fire the place up at 11 o'clock. And throughout the day, they do lunch, and then, our big meal is dinner in most of the restaurants. Okay. And our lounges. I mean, our lounges are, really happening places in most of the towns we're in. We are, a formidable, we are, the place to go in a lot of places for fun, for meeting people and, getting together with your family. So it's a happening place, a lot of action. That's great. What do you look for in a location, John? I mean, I was saying, like, as location, is it typical rules for, like, a restaurant? Of course, location. But, I mean, what do you typically look for, before you, kind of say this is a good location for Margaritas? Yeah, Margaritas is a destination location in most cases. Yeah. We need parking. We need a facility that we can renovate to fit our lines. Our cooking lines are not simple. They're kind of complicated. Of yeah. And so it has to fit. It has to fit the mechanicals, and then we can adapt and decorate and make any place cool, I think, and funky. So that isn't the biggest piece. But location, back in the 80s, we took a lot of C or B locations because that's what we could afford to get. Today we're able to get better locations, but in general, a destination location, and people, in most cases, people aim to come to Margaritas. It's just not like, well, I'm at the mall and here's a place. Exactly. Fine, and all the restaurants I'm talking about, and I'm not sure bad. They're very convenient. Most franchise restaurants are for convenience. Right. I'm not say that some of them aren't good, but our restaurants, people more aim to go to a Margaritas versus fall upon it. That's fantastic. You being an entrepreneur, it's true. You being an entrepreneur, John, a lot of our listeners, we call them aspiring franchipreneurs. Most of them have it in their mind that they want to go into franchising. We find that a lot of them have difficulty. They don't know where to begin sometimes because it seems like there's just so much out there today, So what would you say to them as an entrepreneur, as far as giving them advice on how and where to even begin their search? Yeah. Well, I think they have to first ask themselves how hard they really want to work.
Mm-hmm.
True. Certain concepts are easier than others.
That's true.
And there are certain concepts that are easy that can throw off a lot of income.
True.
Location, because of the vast vast numbers of sheer types of franchises and locations, et cetera, that are out there. But they really have to ask themselves, how hard they want to work, how much money they want to invest. If it's a complicated or a more complicated system versus a very simple, like we put out, somebody puts out. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
If all you cook is bread, let's just say, right?
True.
And that's the sort of complication you're up for. Well, that's going to be fairly easy to employ people. You're going to find people on that level. Now, if you want something a little more interesting, and you have a team, I think the most important thing is who's the team behind you, and that will determine how complicated or how much of a fun concept you can do.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just yourself without much of a support group or a fun, energetic group behind you, you should temper it to what your personality is. That's a big one. Why fit around, square peg in a round hole?
Sure.
So look at your own personality, look at your own finances, look at what your time commitment is and how your family is going to accept it, and see who are your support pillars around you.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful response, John. We're going to have to put that in our Great Quotes in Franchising podcast. I like how you mentioned that, personality. Yes, it's true that there are simpler concepts out there, but, would you get bored with that after a while? As much you have to ask yourself, So it is. It's a very interesting response. I like that. So being that, you're the founder and the CEO of the company, I can ask you, what are the plans for the future for Margaritas Mexican Restaurant? Hey, that was the question, like, how big would you like to get? But, maybe where do you see the company, 3 to 5 years down the road?
Well, interestingly enough, I just partly answered one of my own questions, is that how big does it want to get? I want to get the thing as big and as famous and as fun and as touching many people as my people want to bring it.
Right. Interesting.
That's pretty broad because I can't do it anymore. I'm not saying it's not one person. It's a living, breathing machine of people and places. So we're, to be more specific, our main priority that we are completely committed to is to develop the Pennsylvania region that the Colby Group has taken and make them as successful as possible. Help them to be as successful as possible.
That's great. I'm glad you said that. My wife's going to be glad you said that too, John. Not to cut you off, but I know you're in Langhorne and Lansdale, and we're hoping that you come a little closer to this part. We're in Easton, Williams Township, Pennsylvania, right on the Delaware River, and that usually happens a lot of times is once you have, 2 or 3 units in a particular state, it kind of like mushrooms,
Right.
So we can't wait for you to get here.
They've got Wilmington slated and Collegeville.
Okay.
Slated. So Wilmington, they're going to be on the river.
Getting closer.
Getting closer. Yeah. Well,
definitely a driving range. We always said we can always go.
App, but really developing down that region of the east, through DC, would be our goal, and they're looking at it as well. And as far as company restaurants go, we'll probably. It's already almost 2040. It'll probably be 2015 before we'd open any more new ones. One of the reasons is if the schedule for our franchisees comes through. I mean, we are, just this year we opened, in the last 12 months we've opened 2 restaurants. And, we're not the kind of chain that can open 10, 15 restaurants a year at this point.
Right, at this point, right.
Yeah.
That's
interesting. I'd love to see us have about 25 to 30 company restaurants and 30 to 40 franchise restaurants. I think that'd be a nice size that would be manageable and keep it fun and still be able to keep it real for Mexico.
That's fantastic. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information, John? Is there any particular websites that you'd like them to go to?
We have our website, but we can pick up the telephone and there's a number. You call one of our guys.
That's fantastic. You can give that number
it's not
too,
like we're accessible people, and it's people to people.
That's fantastic. What's that number too? You can plug that too if you want to. I have the 603-430-8905. Is that correct?
Yep, and then dial 0 for the operator and ask to talk to Tom Radomski. He heads up all the franchise. He's been with me over 20 years. He's opened restaurants, cooked them, washed dishes, franchised them. He's gone through all the certified franchise training that was necessary, and a real person. And he will be glad to talk with you.
That's great. Well, it was a pleasure to finally have you on the show, John. And again, I'm anxiously and patiently waiting for you to come to this area. And I can't wait to try you guys out. And I'd really like to invite you back next year as you continue to grow.
I'll keep you posted, amigo.
Thanks so much, John. You have a great day.
Thanks a lot, Marty.
Thank you. We'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Adios.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 6 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Need a business loan? Talk to Diamond Financial Services, the experts in franchise financing nationwide. Whether you're looking to start a franchise, acquire an existing franchise, or expand your territory through opening new locations, Diamond Financial stands by your side start to finish. From pre-qualification to packaging and presenting your application to securing a financial commitment and through the loan closing process, Diamond Financial is there. While you're waiting, thousands of others are making their financial dreams come true. Don't wait any longer. Pre-qualify now by completing a confidential, no-obligation financial analysis. Let's face it, traditional banks just aren't in the business of financing small business. At Diamond Financial, we specialize in securing franchise loans from $100,000 to $3 million and equipment leasing up to $150,000. Let us help you get started. Go to www.franchisefunding.net or call 877-508-2274. That's franchisefunding.net, 877-508-2274.
Hi, everyone. Edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. We've been hosting franchise interviews now over 6 years and 300 shows, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on the show. Today you're going to get to hear from Nancy Bigley, who is the CEO of Bottle & Bottega. And one of the questions we frequently ask on the show is, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? And I thought Nancy's response was really quite brilliant. So here we go with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising.
That came up this week, and how do we need to move through that? So.
That's fantastic. You've been involved in like you said, not to make you feel old, but you've been involved in franchising for a while now. What advice would you give to our listeners? We call them aspiring franchipreneurs, Nancy. Most of our listeners, they want to buy a franchise, and I think a lot of them just don't know where to even begin because there's just so many concepts out there today, isn't there? It's just like, where do you start? What would you say to them?
Yeah, you're right. It's so overwhelming, I know, and even just me when I was looking at, the different concepts, and so I've been in their shoes, and it is overwhelming. And I think, first and foremost, of course, like the business needs to speak to you. I mean, I think you need to be passionate about it. The business model obviously has to work. So, just the baseline pieces there. The model's got to work. It's got to fit your revenue profile and just hours of operation and all those sorts of things that make sense. And But then I think, it's all about, too, once you get past that initial piece and it's something that you're excited about, then you want to really talk to your franchisor. Like, you have to have a connection with your franchisor. You have to, you have to see the vision. You have to feel the passion. You have to feel like it's somebody that you could be a partner with for, minimum of 10 years. And is this somebody that I want a relationship with? And, what are their franchisees saying? And, or all the things that I'm hearing in discovery, really what those franchisees are still feeling when they get out into the market. And do you connect with the franchisees? Because, again, the thing that I love so much about franchising is it's such an amazing community. So I feel such a huge responsibility to bring together the right people, because you're building a community of franchisees and a family. And, I love that we have all of these amazing backgrounds and, smart people out there that, look, there's a lot of great ideas out there. Not every one of us is, I don't have every single answer, and my business partner, so we leverage all of these amazing people. So I think, be passionate about whatever the business is, and really feel like you see that same vision, and you connect with your franchisor, and they're going to give you the support that you need to move forward.
I had a feeling you'd have a detailed response to that question, by the way.
Shocker,
which
right?
is fantastic. We have this great quotes in franchising podcast that we do is like, advice to, like 5-minute clips, and I think we're going to put that one in there. I think it's Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you again next week with another edition of Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.